Welcome, welcome, viewing a several once again. Right, we're on episode 32 of this series, Hands Up. Who loves the train set? Me! So I thought I'm gonna have a look at some more modern sets, I'll say. Now this set is actually from 1997, so it's still nearly 30 years old, but compared to most of my collection, this is a relatively recent set. So I looked at an early 80s Hornby, a small Hornby set, a freight set, good set, a couple of episodes ago. So I wanted to just have a look at a few more from different eras of Hornby, just to see, what the differences are. And so this particular set, as I say, came out as, I think this one is R1005. Now it did actually come out the year before, but it had, I think it was R843, but as far as I can tell it's pretty much the same. But this one's got the R1005 on it, so that means it's either from 97 or 98. And this is really the start of a newer era in the Hornby train sets, because we've now got these track mats being included, and we've got this is now made an appearance, this D-class industrial 040 shunter, and we've also got this type of controller is now appearing, which actually these controls are pretty good, so I quite like those. So this particular set I think I bought for about £20, £25. I can't remember, I've had it for a while, I can't remember if it's complete or not, but what I'm going to do is we'll have a look at it, because it's always fun to look at Hornby sets from different eras, and we'll see what there is inside. And I'm going to run it, but I won't be running it on the track, but I have got a first radius of Hornby track, so I'm going to set it up on here with the first radius, and I'll put a couple of straights in it as well. I think this one comes with a power clip that you can clip between the tracks, so I probably won't use that. I'll probably just well, we'll see. I might use the modern piece of clippy track, which is one of these, which these are just a bit more reliable in terms of connection. So I knew I had one of these power clips somewhere, but as I said before, I think the track that I had in the previous example was even older, and they were those clips that used to clip on either side of the track, rather than the ones that went through the track. So yeah, I think we'll have a look what's inside anyway, and remind myself whether we've got everything in there. I've got a feeling there was an issue with this loco, and it was running, it was kind of wobbling a lot, and I did try and sort out the quartering and various other things, and I've got another one the same that I got in a job lot of stuff, so if this one is running poorly I'll just swap it for the other one and we'll see how we go. So this is old enough now that I think this slightly discoloured printing, but yeah, it's this is more like the modern Hornby boxes, with this format has basically been unchanged since the mid-90s, or possibly even the early 90s, where you get this third radius loop, a controller, a track mat, and some in these days you were still getting 3 wagons. Unfortunately in the last 15 years or so the lower end sets only come with 2 wagons now, and if you go back a bit further you sometimes get 4 in a set. It's quite a big box considering it's quite a small set. So we'll set it up and we'll see what it's like, shall we? So before we look inside, I'll just show you the back of the box, and this is probably the beginning of this era where you have this track mat that comes with it, and then you've got these track packs and expansion path to expanding the layout and with the track mat as a guide. This is quite an early track mat, so it's very different from the ones that came 10 years later. I don't know if the track mat's included. I can't honestly remember. I don't think it is, but I've never used these. So we'll have a look in the box anyway. Yeah, there's no track mat, which is fine. I didn't think there was. So, looking at this, you get the third radius oval plus 2 straights, and you get this controller. Now I quite like these. These are way better than the ones that came later, because they put out. There's different versions of this. This is the R965. Now some of them were made in England, which this one says made in England, and I think the later ones were made in China, and I think there are some differences, and I think it is that the output potentially more power on the earlier ones, but I'm not sure. But I have used these with Hornby 00, and I've used them with you know, Triang and stuff, and they work pretty well with the older stuff. You can see that switch is looking a bit off centre, but it does seem to work. So it's got a directional switch, and you know, the control knob's pretty good. It feels nice and positive, and it's quite a lightweight thing, but I've generally find these to be all right controllers. The later ones less so. If I just have a look at this, we can see there it's got, yeah, 16 volts. It doesn't tell you on here, it's not telling me what the current limit is on it, but I think it goes up to about 750 milliamps on these ones, I think, which is a lot more than the newer ones. But then the newer ones, they probably don't need to have as much current, because the modern locos consume less current. So we've got a nice little plank wagon. We've got this vent van, or whatever they're called. I can see that I need to put those back in there. I'll have a look at that later before I run it. But yeah, it's not bad. I mean, that looks all right. Around this time, this is when there were some sets where you've got really bright colours with this loco, and you've got like a 7-Up and a Fanta vent van, and they went through a period where they were really colourful. But this, yeah, it's very just basic wagons. That's your old metal one. It's not completely blank inside. All plastic wheels, very basic, very simple. Now, these locomotives, I've got some of these. I think I've got a Coca-Cola set I bought cheap as well, and they have one of these. I think out of all of the Hornby 040s, this is probably my least favourite. And although it is apparently based on a real prototype, it's extremely basic, but it's the same chassis I think they have in all of their 040s. It's just, you know, it doesn't have very much presence, it doesn't weigh anything, and I think it runs pretty fast as well. So these came out much later than, you know, in a time where I wasn't paying any attention to model railways, and I've only found out about these in the last few years, so they don't have any nostalgic value for me, and I don't particularly like them, but I don't mind having one or two in my collection. You know, and I have a fondness for Hornby 040s in general, just because of they're accessible. So it does say it's made in Great Britain, so this is before everything went to China, which happened sometime in the late 90s, early noughties, I think. So yeah, again, another very basic set. So it's not going to be a long episode. I'm just going to set it up and I'm going to run it, and I'm going to run it on the first radius rather than this, because this isn't going to fit on this desk. And while I've got a spare 20 minutes, I thought I'd just quickly do this one because it's been sitting on the shelf since I got it. I haven't done much with it, so it'd be nice just to give it a little outing and see it running round. So yeah, well, let's get it on the track and see what it's like, shall we? Right, well, so what I've done, I've set up a first radius oval, I've added a point, I've used the 2 straights from the set and this third radius curve from the set. I've added a Hornby piece of power straight and I think another bit of straight there just to give me, I thought I'd give myself a siding to play with, just to, you know, see what this is like with a bit of shunting thrown in. So the thing is, this controller is quite hard to control this locomotive at low speed. So I might flip to the Gauge Master part way through this demo. So I'm going to, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this. I was going to back it. I'm going to run it forwards first with it. These locos are pretty skittish. They will wheel spin a hell of a lot, and they would go ludicrously fast, and as you can see, come off the track. So I'll just now, to be fair to it, we're on the track again. It's possible that it would handle the third radius without coming off, but I mean that is a ridiculous speed, isn't it? So what I'm going to do, I'll just run it a bit. I mean there's very little controllability at the low speed with this particular controller. Now I find these controllers are pretty good for older locomotives that need a lot of current to start. So some of the bigger, older things do run well with this. But I think I'm gonna hook up the Gauge Master now and see if it's any better at low speeds. That's a bit mad, isn't it? Actually, I'll tell you what. Let's turn around. Let's see if we can pull these wagons out on the Hornby control. A bit hard to get it under control, but you know. Oops. Okay. Off we go. So yeah, I mean it's quite noisy, it's quite crude. I'd say I like the wagons. The locomotive I don't particularly care for, and it's a bit of a step down in quality and just general excitement from older sets. Even that set that I reviewed the other day that wasn't that inspiring from the 1980s. The locomotive is much better than this one, and yeah, so it's. I mean, you do get that third radius track, which is not too bad. So that's come off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to stop and I'm going to connect up the Gauge Master and just see if it makes any difference to the smooth, slow run. Right, back on the track. So I've got the Gauge Master on here now. Let's see if it's any better, shall we? So that's not super. This is another one I've got. Is this any better? I think this one runs slightly better. So we'll have a go with this one and the Gauge Master controller. It's not great. I mean, there's not a lot you can service on these. You can clean them and give them a bit of oil, but the motor's a sealed kind of unit. It's definitely a bit better. So the thing is, these engines just are not very good. Now, to be fair, it could be that these are both just old and cheap, and I think I've got a newer one in a Coca-Cola livery that actually runs okay. However, these have never been quite right, so I think by way of comparison I'm going to put this, which is a very cheaply bought second-hand Hornby J83, which I paid about 20 quid for, and you can see the difference is night and day. So, you know, these things are designed to be cheap toys, but even as a kid I think you'd be disappointed with how poorly they perform, whereas just for a little bit more money a used one of these gives you this, which is so much better. So these J83s, I think this is a made in England one. I've got some of the Chinese made ones, and some of those can be quite smooth as well, and there's an older version which has got the older motor that you can see in the cab sticking out, but I find these ones are very, very good runners. I mean, I've got 2 or 3 of them, and I didn't pay more than about £20 for any one of them, and you know, it's not even comparable to these. These are basically trash. I'm gonna, by way of comparison, I'm gonna bring out a really old 70s Hornby X-Triang Design 040 and see how much better that runs than these green. Right, so this one is a 70s version of the 040 industrial tank that was a Triang design. Don't expect it to go over that too well. That's okay at that speed. I mean, you wouldn't expect that, but yeah, this one's a little bit hesitant. Probably needs service. But I mean, even so, it's a lot older. It's 20 years older than these, and these, it's way better. As you can see, I think the wheels are a bit coarse for the modern point, to be honest. That's the one downside of these, it's got the flanges are a little bit heavy for that point. As you can see, it will crash through it. But if you didn't have the point, or you had an older point, it would be much better. So yeah, these, they're no fun at all. So I'm just going to finish off with one more JA83 kind of loop, and I'll do some close-up shots to compare. Right, let's just see how well this handles. These points are not great, but they're just in the spare box of track. But you can see that. That's fine. I mean, to be fair, this has got 6 wheels, but I mean, even this one is better than those. and this is pretty reliable. I think that this is pretty good. It's only getting stuck on the points because it's got the coarser flanges. But look at that. That's a basic loco. They're back in the railroad range now, these Chinese made ones, but they're all as good. I've got a couple of others. I've got one in I've converted to DCC and it runs superb. But that's brilliant. Right, we'll have one more. We're going to we'll give these horrible green cheap ones one more chance. Now we've seen what a decent loco, not an expensive one, like I say, 20 quid second hand can do. We can compare to this. So it's not going to go over there very well. Right, let's pull her out. It's just not very good. Noisy. I've applied a bit of lubrication. There's not many things you can oil in it. Yeah, I mean that's not nice, is it really? Now I don't know which one was the one that came in the set and which was the other one that came in a job lot of other stuff. But at least it's running now. I mean, when I had it, it was wobbling about as if the quartering was out, and I redid it all, and it still didn't seem very good, but it's a lot better than it was. So I think this is... There we go. Well, the conclusion is that these are pretty trash, and for a little bit of money you can get something really nice like this, which is a made in Great Britain version, so it's quite old, because it's probably the same sort of vintage as these, and yeah, you can see it's completely different. So I'm not even going to film some close-ups of these other than to leave them in the siding here, and I'll do some close-ups of this just to finish. There we go, that is it. Decent loco looks like in comparison. Not an expensive one. So this would be a similar vintage and not that much more cost. And considering the difference, it's astonishing. So I hate to say it, but I think these are pretty much garbage, and I wouldn't encourage anyone to buy a set with one of these in. I don't know if they're still doing these. I think they might have recently replaced them with some new tooled 040s. But these really, you know, compared to stuff that's much older, are just terrible. What to say really? I think, like I say, I think I have got another one in a Coca-Cola set that I bought because I wanted to see what they were like. But that needs a bigger radius, so that'll have to wait until I can run it somewhere with more space. I have tried it and I think it does run better than these, but I mean these are just hollow things. They're noisy, and a bit of more oil might help and a bit more running in, but they're pretty dreadful to start with. So this acoustic box that is the shell only serves to amplify the horrible noise that it makes. So yeah, I think they're pretty dreadful. It's a shame really, because as I say, I do like Hornby's 040s, but these I've just absolutely no fondness for at all. No nostalgia, and I don't like them having looked at them now. So yeah, and most of the liveries they come in are absolutely horrible as well. So my vote for Hornby's worst locomotive. Maybe somebody likes them. In a way I hope they do, but yeah, they're not for me, those. Anyway, this has gone on long enough, and I'll see you in the next one.